Hi, how you doing? Now we're going to go over a little bit of general information about the TABE online assessment. You see my contact information here. If you have any questions about this presentation or anything related to TABE Online, feel free to give me a call. This is just going to be general information, pretty short, and then there'll be another couple of different ones for more specialized purposes coming up. First thing though, have you had assessment policy training? In order to give TABE online assessment, you should have had assessment policy training. That's a 3-hour training for anyone who gives a test that's counted in LACES, like TABE. Okay, so just make sure you've had that. Check with your director or training specialist if you haven't. Some things from assessment policy training to remember: there's not supposed to be any teaching activities going on in the same room as testing at that same time. Okay. Also, be sure and post a sign on the door, testing in progress. And definitely stay in the room at all times to monitor the test takers. And do not allow any cell phone use during the test. How does the TABE online assessment differ from the paper and pencil TABE? Well, unlike paper and pencil TABE tests, there's no need to monitor the time, read out the instructions aloud, or pass out test books. There's no locator for you to grade. The correct subtest is automatically assigned by the locator. There is, however, a note that if your program prefers giving a paper and pencil locator, interpreting it, making a judgment call if it's close to the borderline, say between M and D, and then assigning the subtest for that student, that is an option available. That's the way they were doing it in Lawrence. But it's an option. You don't have to do that. It will follow the regular locator guidelines in assigning the right level. Calculator use is the same. It's allowed during applied math, but not during math comp. Now, there is, that should have said no, there is no calculator software available during the test. So you just have to stay alert and pass out the actual calculator to them. You should also distribute and then collect scratch paper at the end of the test. These training materials and more are at virtualhandouts.com. In February 2012, Rock Hill started using TABE Online. This training is about some of the basics of it and hopefully give you some helpful hints if you're starting out with it. There are, of course, many different ways to do each task in this software. So you just have to play around and find what works for you in your program. One of the first areas of confusion is where to go to do what. There's a website, oas.ctb.com, and that's where you will go as an administrator to log in, set up a test, set up a student, check scores, print out things. And you go to that website, of course, using a regular web browser, Internet Explorer or Google Chrome. Now, we did find there were some problems with Internet Explorer and this test software when we upgraded to Windows 7. So if you have trouble with Internet Explorer, try using Google Chrome or some other browser. The desktop icons down here are what the students will double-click in order to start their test. Okay. The newer one looks like over here. The older one looked like that. Okay, so let's take a little quick quiz. A or B, which icon would you click to register new students for the TABE online assessment? And the correct answer is A. You're going to register a student. That's something an administrator does. So you're going to go on the internet to the website oas.ctb.com. How about this? Which icon would you click to print reports for TABE online assessment? Okay, correct again. You're going to go on the internet. It's an administrative function to print out the test reports. Those two symbols in B are just for the students. that are taking the test. Which icon would you click to do a tutorial for TABE Online Assessment? Now, I haven't talked about tutorials yet, but a tutorial just shows the format of the test. It gives them some practice with marking answers, shows them how to use a highlighter, turn the timer on and off, so forth like that. And actually, the tutorial is a little trick question. There is a web-based tutorial at tinyurl.com/OAS tutorial, and it's set up the same as a test so they can practice there. It's quicker and easier to do it on the web-based version, but it is available as something that you can set up as an administrator for students to do, but I would recommend going to the website. Which icon would you click to have a student start their TABE online assessment? Alright, good. You guys are good. That's B. Right. And we're going to show you in another video how to download the online assessment onto the computer. It has to be downloaded onto each computer that you're going to use. And when the student's using the software, it's going to cut off all access to the internet or anything on the computer that can take a picture. Alright, some quick facts. It has immediate online scoring. You can create a class and student item analysis report, individual student reports, and list reports immediately. There's a lot of features in here that I've never used, but they're in there, they're available, and you can explore those. It helps you work smarter instead of longer, using TABE Online's advanced technology to save valuable time and give you freedom to focus on your students' needs. It saves time, it makes student registration and test scheduling fast, efficient, and secure. TABE Online is slightly more work up front, but way less work on the tail end than doing the paper and pencil. Students have to be entered in the computer, and test sessions have to be set up or selected. Now, you can use the same test session more than once. And once a student's set up in the computer for their initial intake and assessment, the next time when they're going to take their post-test, you don't have to enter them in there again. Students have to do the tutorial at least once to get familiar with the system, and that's again the address where you can find the tutorial. Students can progress to the next test when they're done with their regular TABE online assessment, and they don't have to wait until time is up or everyone else finishes. Every student will be given a printed test ticket that'll have their login name, their password, and a test access code if you want. That's your option. The test access code, some people prefer not to put that on the student ticket and then to write it on the board and have everyone start at the same time. But here in Rock Hill, we just print it on it, and when we hand them the ticket, they can go ahead and get started. Here's an example of where you can make a choice. Do you want to print the test access code on your individual or multiple test tickets? And I don't know if I think the default is no, so you have to click yes, and then it will print up. And this is what a sample test ticket looks like. It has their name, their login, password, and the test access code. If you click no, that wouldn't be on there, and they'll have to wait for you to give it for them to start. There's no need for timing, it's automatic. It's possible to administer TABE to one student in an office if no other activities are going on. Some students and staff may not like using the computer for testing. Here's an example. Sally's retired. She earned her GED and then started working for Adult Ed as a test administrator. Her job was giving TABE and OPT tests using paper and pencil. And she didn't really like the computer. She was a little scared of it, but she learned enough to do her few tests that she had to do with the paper and pencil test. And when we switched to TABE Online, it was traumatic. She was ready to quit. It was like, oh, I don't know how I'm going to ever do this. It's so complicated. But after a short amount of time, she was fine with it, and she likes it very much now. And her advice to you, if you're like her, a little computer phobic, is don't panic. Okay, write this number down. It's not easy to find in the program, and when things go wrong, you're going to need it to call them, 866-282-2250. And that's the end of part one. If you have any questions, give me a call or send me an email. All right, thank you. Stay tuned for part two.